DreAllDay.com.
Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. Let's talk about information. So much information out there these days, from YouTube videos, people like myself. You got podcasts, you got blogs, you got books, magazines, online courses, you got class if you go to school, you got people on Twitter giving information, people on Instagram giving out advice, you got the people you talk to giving you advice, you got stuff that you already know that you just remembered and thought, hey, maybe I should use that. Some dusty book that you haven't read in a long time, you dust it off and say, hey, here's some more information. Information is everywhere, right? We are overwhelmed with information. Nobody can say that a lack of information is the reason they're not doing what they want to do or being who they want to be. Sometimes it's too much information because we can't decide where to start with information. We don't know which is relevant and which we need to discard and throw away. How do you do something with information? But how can you take information that you gain, that you think is valuable, maybe that you even know is valuable, and make sure you actually get a return on your investment for consuming that information? I'm going to tell you how to do that here in this video. With any piece of information you get from anywhere, from any source, this is what you do to make sure you get something out of every piece of information you get. Number one thing you must do when you get new information is apply the information immediately. As soon as you get something new, some new information, some new idea, some new technique, you must apply it immediately. Doesn't mean you got to do the whole thing immediately, but you must apply what you learn quickly so that your brain understands. See, when you think about something, your brain is thinking about, okay, there's a thought that registers. But how many thoughts do we have over the course of every single day? We have hundreds of thousands of thoughts every single day. Some that we're conscious of, some that we're not conscious of. When you take an action on something, that's taking it to another level, right? The first level is you thought about it. The second level, where not everything gets to, is you act on it. Because listen, you can't do a whole bunch of things at the same time. You can think hundreds of thousands of thoughts every day without moving from your seat. But you can't take action on hundreds of thousands of things every day because you simply only have one body and you can't be in more than one place at a time. So when you take action on something, which is like going in a funnel, right? It's a much smaller amount of your thoughts become actions. Now your brain says, okay, this is a little bit more serious because we're doing something with it. Applying what you learned will take it to another level, and it makes it a little bit more serious in your brain and moves it up kind of more to the front of the line, so to speak. Applying everything that you learn, or applying something that you want to get something out of when you learn it. Number two, if you want to really make sure you remember a piece of information, or remember to remember it and make it serious in your brain along with taking action, relate what you learn, this new information, to something that you already know. You can relate it to something you already know. It makes it much easier to accept, much easier to understand. For example, Twitter. When Twitter came out, people had never heard of Twitter. People didn't even know what the word Twitter meant. But somebody explained, this is what Twitter is. It's blogging, but it's only 240 characters. Everybody knew what blogging was. Blogging was you can get on your computer and you can write whatever you want to write as long as you want to write or as short as you want to write. Twitter said, okay, we're just like blogging. So everybody knows what blogging is. So people were able to accept it because we know what blogging is. The only difference is we limit you to, I think it was 140 characters. Then they changed it to 280 characters. So Twitter, they did this exact thing. They wanted people to understand this information of what we are about. Let's relate it to something that people already understand. Makes it much easier. Company like Netflix. We're like Blockbuster Video. Everybody knew what Blockbuster Video was. The difference is we can get you DVDs, and then eventually they moved into streaming. Digital video they related it to something that already existed, piggybacking off it. Now this may be harder to do if you're brand new in the space and creating something that didn't exist at all, but if you think about it hard enough, and if you're creating something brand new that you want to be widespread, you should think about it hard enough. How does this relate to something that already exists, which will make it much easier for people to understand, number one, and number two, accept? Because if people don't understand something, it's impossible for them to accept it. That just makes sense, right? Number three thing you do when you get new information, make sure you can remember this information. Is come up with five ideas for how you can apply what you've learned. 5 ideas for how you can use what you've learned. And put no limitations on these 5 ideas. Okay, so when I say 5 ideas, doesn't mean you have to do any of the 5. Maybe you'll do 1, maybe you'll do all 5, maybe you'll do none of them because they're just so far out there. The point of you doing this is to exercise your conscious mind in thinking about how to make this new information work for you. And when you exercise your conscious mind and actually think about what are some ideas for what I can do with this, you're again burning the grooves deeper into your mind, letting your mind know this is serious, this is for real, this is something that we need to really consider and really keep in the front, because now not only are we taking action on it, not only are we relating it to something we already know, we're also coming up with some ideas for it. Now you've done 3 levels of application with this new information. Instead of just taking it in All right, that was great information. And moving on to the next piece of information, which means you probably won't remember it. You are doing all three. When you come up with those ideas, you're making your brain exercise, kind of like putting your brain on a treadmill when it's trying to figure out what some ideas, what it can do with that information. So every time you get a new piece of information that you know is valuable, that you think is valuable, that you're not sure if it's valuable, do these three things, and I guarantee it will allow you to get a whole lot more out of the information than just passively consuming it, tossing it away, and moving on to the next piece of information. Work on your game. DreAllDay.com.